Well, I thought I'd never see it again. I've got the 2 1/4 petrol engine back. I just got it this morning. I know it's red. Well, I know it should be red. It should actually be sort of like a red lead type of red, but I couldn't get anything close. So I got this stuff here, and I said, "Have you got any engine paint?" We've got some high temperature brake caliper paint. Oh, I thought that'll do. So I painted it red, and the head's going to be black as standard. So yeah, I would like to have done it a little bit colour, but anyway, I'll just tell you a little story about that. I'll put this can down because it's kind of noisy. So after all those weeks of waiting, I got me bill, which I was a bit dischuffed about, and they were saying, "Oh, we've been trying to call you, but you're always engaged." I said, "Well, I'm not surprised because I've never had that telephone number for 15 years. What muppets. All they have to do is sort of Google my name, my company name, Britannica Restorations, and it comes up top because there's nobody else called that. And there's all my Google information. Anybody knows that. You all know my number. Anyway, it really sometimes is annoying because I have my shop phone and my home phone linked together. So what happens is if some muppet rings me up at 2:30 in the morning wanting to know a Land Rover problem, who doesn't know where I am, it gets me out of bed. Anyway, enough of that. So what they did was they charged me for machining the cylinder head, planing it, you know, surfacing the head. I said, "What did you do that for? I didn't need that." "Oh, yeah, I needed it." I said, it didn't. Now, if you can remember, they charged me $61 for the honour of doing that. It's not too bad, I suppose. If you can remember, number 3 cylinder on this, the piston was stuck, and because the valve was open and it let water in because somebody didn't cover over the carburettor. It wasn't me, somebody was messing about with it. So I said, "Well, can you just grind in the valve?" Because I have a valve grinder. It's not as good as theirs, you know, like just to cut the seats. They charged me $150 and did all 8 seats in the head. Now, we didn't really need that. I was really pissed with that because I know these guys from old, and you know, I thought, well, instead of getting them to cut the seats on the valves, because one of them was a bit dodgy, I simply bought new valves. It was cheaper to buy new valves than to get them to machine them. It's bonkers, isn't it? It really, you know, boils my wee-wee. They planed the head on the block. Again, I don't know what for. This is a very low miles engine. It was straight as a die. I don't know what they did that for. They must have only just done a quick skim. I mean, it is nice and it does shine up the job, and you can guarantee that the surfaces are good, but you know, these old cast iron things with cast iron heads on, they don't really warp all that much. Anyway, boring wasn't too bad, $35, and then they charge another $35 for honing. I don't know why, because you know, like in the old days, what they used to do is clamp a boring head on top of the block and bore out the block like a big electric motor and a cutter, and cut out the block, and then you hone it just to finish, you know, the cutting. Well, you see, what they do now is they have like a big honing machine, really coarse, and just go up and down and bore it out like that. They don't actually put a cutter in it, and then they hone it with the finest stone. I'm going to have to find somebody else who'll do engines. Charged me $85 for putting camshaft bushings in. I could have bought a tool for $35 to put them in, but I thought, oh yeah, well go on, you put them in then. Oh, man, I'll never do that again. Sandblast the block, $50. It was a bit rusty, but I think it got even worse when it was there for all that time. $64 for cleaning. Now, at one point, they used to charge, when they would board 4 pistons, they used to just put it in the parts washer, you know, like a big turntable type thing with jets all over the place. They used to do that included in the price, but not now. And rectify, what was it? I can't remember what it is in French, but anyway, it rectify cuttings and shavings and stuff like this. $31. I mean, this is how crazy things are getting now. They're just charging for all sorts of stuff. Anyway, never mind about that. Now we've got a block, we can rebuild it. Now, it's going to be a busy sort of weekend. It's Friday afternoon now. I might just put the core plugs in, you know, just to say that's done, and then they can be set in overnight, because I'll put them in with a bit of Loctite. And they're done, aren't they? Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to get it put together, because I've got a very busy week, because the Malawi 110, they want it shipping out on Monday. Oh, I've never run it for months and months and months, so I'm going to have to take it up the road and make sure that's all right. And then later on, that little 90 from Florida, that's going back home. So I've got to get that done as well. But that's going to sort of be mid-October, so that's not really much of a rush. But I've got to get the Malawi one done. Oh, and of course, I went to move a bloody washing machine and dryer for Deborah's friend in my pickup, and I realised that the front headlamps weren't working, so I've got to fix them. I don't know what's gone wrong with them. I'll have to do them this weekend, because it's getting sort of dark nights now. Well, nights usually are dark, aren't they? Well, you want to see something, don't you? Well, I'll tell you something. Let's get on and put some of these core plugs in. Now, interesting thing. In America, they call them frost plugs. These things here, they call them frost plugs. Thinking that when a block freezes up because you ain't put no antifreeze in it, that the plugs actually pop out and save the block. Well, they do, but that's not its intention. If you've ever done castings and things like this, it's actually to hold the sand core inside whilst the block's being cast. And then they put it on a god-awful great big vibrating table and vibrate the sand out. And that's how they get the sand out the holes as well. It's a very old technique of making castings. But it's not really for, you know, frost. For ice. But it's not too bad, because usually if you've got a block, I've seen a lot of blocks crack here, right along the bottom of this line, because the water jacket, you know, you look at a block and you think, oh, it's cool, it's water all the way down to the bottom. It isn't really, it's only up to the, you see there's the plug. Yeah, you see there's the drain plug. Well, there's no water below that, so that's the level of the coolant in it. Not down here. It's not down there, it's just bloody things flying around and going up and down. But they can crack here, you know. So, I mean, I suppose if frost, you know, if it's going to get icy, I've seen blocks pop these plugs out, and you get like a tube of ice come out of it. It's interesting to see. Well, yeah, well, go on, let's stop rambling and let's get on and get set up, and we'll put some in. To fit the plugs, we need some plugs, these things here. Now, fortunately, on these old 4-cylinder blocks, we've never really changed all that much over the years. In fact, these are the same plugs that go into the TDIs, and this is a 2.25, 2.25, so they haven't really changed them. What I've got, I've mentioned it before, so newcomers might not see. I knocked up this tool extremely quickly. It's actually a hub nut. I think it's off a Buick, but it fits lovely inside the plug. Don't hit them on the edges. They want to be hit in the middle, but not like in a dimple, because if you dimple them, they'll curl in, if you see what I mean. So you want to support them as much as you can and hit them square. That's why I welded a washer on the top. Now, to seal them, make sure that they're going to seal in. This is why I want to get it in and get it nice and tight. I'm using some of this sleeve retainer. That's what they suggest in the shop, to put some of that on. Yeah, let's have a go. So I'll put a little bit of sleeve retainer on. You don't want to go too wild. Now this stuff dries under compression, if you see what I mean. There's a name for it, but I can't remember what it is. Doesn't really matter, does it? I've forgotten by tomorrow. So we put a nice little ring on, and then we'll put the plug in. So line it up. Now these have to be tight. I shall go and get some paper towel. So there you go, nice and flush. That's all it wants. It doesn't want any more than that. All right. Now it's the same technique. Notice this has got a rail on here. Now this is actually a lot better idea for cooling, because you might as well have a look at this block because it is kind of interesting. On the TDIs it has the same, it's almost the same, like the 200 TDIs, 300 TDIs. I'm not sure about 200 TDI because I've not seen one for a long time, but the 300 TDI, it finished here, so that there was no real water passage, because this is where your pump pushes water into the block and then it circulates around and then it comes out of somewhere else. Oh, it comes through the head of the thermostat. But this has got a cooling passage all the way along, which is a pretty good idea really, because then the water's evenly distributed. On the HS 2.8 they actually continued this channel, so it was shut off here on the 300 TDI, and on the HS 2.8 they took it halfway, so they must have known something, because that's when they said they had better cooling. On the 300 TDI block there is no drilling in the top, so don't be confused and concerned about buying 300 TDI cylinder heads with better cooling, because it don't work, because the block's not machined out to do it. So you think it's better cooling, but it isn't, because the water goes up and down, not side to side. You would have thought the casting was wider or there was something special. Now I save you money. If you've got a HS 2.8 then you need the head, but that's what they're off. They're off a HS 2.8. So I'm going to get on with this. I'm going to knock all these caps in and then we'll have a look and see what it looks like. So there we go. Plugs are in. Now you don't have to make a tool like this. I just knocked it up because I had the nut the right size, but you could actually use a socket. And that's what I did with these small ones up here. I just used a socket that was nice. Not too tight to fit, you don't want it too tight, but you just want a little play and keep it square. That's the most important thing, to keep them square. So I've got the plugs in the front and two in the back. There's one for the coolant and there's also one where the camshaft's been bored, so they made it the same size as these, so that's good. Most importantly, tighten up the bung for the water. For the coolant drain, because we won't be using that for a little while. We'll let those dry off, set overnight, because this paint apparently, I don't know if I mentioned it, maybe, I don't know, it's actually for brake calipers. It's not for engine blocks. And the guys at the shop, I actually went across town, I didn't want to buy anything from these guys who did the machining. I went to another shop and they said, oh, this will be good for an engine block, Mike, red, because it's high temperature, won't burn off. Well, seems reasonable to me. So so that's what I did. So, but it says on the can, it's touch dry in like 2 hours, which this is. I did this earlier this afternoon, but it says it cures over 24 hours. So that's why I wanted to put the plugs in pretty much straight away. Yeah, I know it's that's good. So the next thing we'll do to that is put the crank in. And yeah, the crank and pistons really, so we'll try and do that in the next job, but I don't know if it'll be this weekend. I don't know when I'll get around to doing it, but at least it's here. That's a nice thing. I don't like this engine stand, I think I told you once before, because it's I need to make one like I have for my 300 TDI, which is a nice central balance point. This is too top heavy, so if you put the cylinder head on this, it's a little swing round really quick. I don't like that. But I modified it as well by putting some better casters on it. So it's got like instead of having two fixed casters that just go backwards and forwards, these all four will go around and around, so you can spin it around, which is a lot better. And it's got rubber tyres on instead of metal wheels, which sort of get stuck over the slightest little pop rivet tang on the floor. So anyway, that's that little bit done. I just thought I'd show you it and have a bitch about prices and things, and then we'll get on to put all the rest of it back. Now, I have done some videos on things. I'm not really sure if I've done the oil pump. I rebuilt the oil pump, but I can't remember if I actually videoed it, so I think I'll do it again, strip it down and show you how it goes, because these are a little sort of a funky thing with a shaft that comes up that drives the distributor, and it is a bit tricky to set up. So we're going to get the crank in, get it all ready to go, camshaft in, and then we'll do that setup. Alright, so we'll see you later. Bye.